we're in San Diego, I drove down from Los Angeles towards the top of the market, right? So 21, 22-ish, right?
Right.
Prices had gotten so high in Los Angeles that I think people were no longer getting 30 years fixed because they needed that sort of teaser mortgage payment for the numbers to make sense, right? So LA is an expensive market, so I'll give you an expensive example. If you want to live in LA proper and you got 2 or 3 kids and you want to be in a good school district and stuff like that, you're in the high 2s, low 3s. So for ease of conversation, let's just say you're looking for a $3 million home.
Right.
That $3 million home was all of a sudden trading for like almost $4 million because rates were so low and the market was so hot. So people were jumping into that stretching, I should say, not jumping in, stretching for that $4 million home and saying, okay, I'll take a 2.5% IO because the payment's less than I'm paying now.
Right.
Right. So I love that payment. But now, like you said, in the back of their head, there's a bit of a conundrum, which is,
what am I going to do?
Well, what's it going to look like? There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can
sell.
do. You can't, you can sell, right?
So
but
you're like,
try to explain that to your wife and kids after you've been there for 18 months, right?
But you got time, right? Like hopefully they got time.
You hope that the Fed brings rates down
in the next 4 years.
Exactly. With an eye on when they started bringing them up, and this is when things are going to adjust, and we don't want to put people out on the street and that sort of thing. You know, they get them back down to, I don't know, you would know better than me, but I always think somewhere in like between 4 and 5% kind of makes sense for both sides.
Yeah, people can afford a 5. Like if they have a 3 now and it's IO, you know, if they keep the principal the same and they go to a 5 and it's 4 years later, hopefully they're making a little more money, inflation adjusted.
And just jumping in IO again, right?
Jumping it back in an IO, you know, and just keep going
just
like
wave
that.
Yeah, then you just ride the appreciation wave.
Yeah, and that's what's happened in America, right?
Yeah.
That's why, you know, I used to love sitting down with, it would be at a birthday party, like a kid's birthday party, and the grandfather was always there, and I'd sit down with them and be like, so where do you live? And they'd tell me, I live in Point Loma. And I go, man, I bet you your house is appreciated over the time. He's like, oh, I remember, they always tell me the story.
Yeah.
I bought it for $40,000, you know, back in 1976, and now it's worth $1.5 million, you know, and I'm like, so I always think about that. I'm like, okay, it's never going to stop. It might have these little notches down, but if you look at anything, you know, like I remember people would tell me they'd get an ice cream cone for like 5 cents. And I was like, that's crazy, right? When I was a kid. and I now I'm telling the story, I would get thrifty ice cream at 25, 35 cents
Oh
a
my
scoop.
God, you're right.
And
you're
now
right.
it's like $4 or $5, whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
so it's it's clearly our dollar depreciation because it's fiat currency and because they just can print it whenever they want. The whole rich dad, poor dad thing, right?
Yeah.
That guy, he's a big believer in like, you got to have hard assets because if they can just print it whenever they want, then there's no value in it.
Right. And the assets appreciate and the dollar becomes worth less and less.
So what's that going to do to your average middle class American that their income isn't really kind of going with the same rate as inflation?
Yeah.
So they're getting poorer where the asset holders are getting richer. And what is that going to do like 10, 20 years from now to our whole country? Which